Art Journal Junction, and today I'm going to be making a page in my journal. So when I was going through the supplies of the mixed media inspired box, I noticed that there was this sheet of sheet music that was called Lullaby of the Leaves. So I took the pressed foliage stamp set from Tim Holtz and I stamped it on a piece of scrap paper and then cut them all out. Now I'm putting the piece of sheet music into my splat box from Tim Holtz and placing all of these leaves that I cut out as a mask. And I'm covering the whole sheet of paper with Distress Resist spray. Now what Distress Resist spray will do is it's going to dry completely clear, so it's going to protect sections of the sheet music, and then where the leaves are, it's going to be the raw paper. So when I use inks and sprays on this later, it's going to soak into those raw areas and resist where that resist spray is. So after I did the top part of the page, I'm just picking up those leaves really carefully, moving them to the bottom half of the paper, and continuing to spray with resist spray. Now I want to mention that it's really important to do this inside a box to protect your area, because when resist spray dries, it dries permanent and you will never get it off. So I always say use a box, save yourself a lot of time and frustration, and always wipe the nozzle of the resist spray when you're done using it. Now after I allowed the Distress Resist spray to dry, I'm going to be covering it with a layer of Distress Oxide sprays. And the first thing I'm doing is putting down some water to allow the inks to move, and then I'm spraying crushed olive, walnut stain, spiced marmalade, a little bit of fired brick, and to finish it off I'm going to fill in these areas with fossilized amber. And there really is no rhyme or reason to where I'm spraying this. I'm just trying to get the colors separated a little bit so there's some movement within. And you can see it's starting to bleed a little bit and wick into different areas. And then I'm also going to spray it with some water to really allow that to start flowing and moving to look more like natural leaves do. I'm going to use my heat tool to begin drying this and getting the ink to move a little bit more with my heat tool. I'm blowing it around a little bit, and then also I'm going to set this aside to dry completely. And now here are some more of those leaves from the pressed foliage stamp from Tim Holtz, and I cut them out, and now I'm just lightly spraying them with resist spray and using those same colors of Distress Oxide sprays to paint these leaves. Now where it's lightly speckled with the resist spray, it's going to completely resist and it's going to show that white cardstock through, and the rest is going to look colorful. So I'm just heating it with my heat tool to speed up the drying process, and you can see where the resist spray is that it's not really drying, it's kind of staying beaded up. So I'm going to use a paper towel and just absorb that extra ink, and you can see how it resists, that resist spray resists the color. Now that everything's dry, I'm going to glue down my sheet music for the background with a layer of the collage medium, and I'm working in the Large Dilutions journal. So I'm using the Distress Collage Medium brush, and I'm just putting a nice even layer over the entire back of this page. And then I will place down my music note paper and smooth it out. Now setting aside my page for a minute, I'm going to use the Bigs XL handmade alphabet from Sizzix, and I just used regular black cardstock and die cut this 4 times so that I would have 4 of each letter, and I'm going to spell the word beautiful. Now I'm taking these 4 B's and I'm stacking them by putting a layer of collage medium, stacking the next layer, putting a layer of collage medium, stacking the next, because I want to create a dimensional letter that's going to stand out from my page. And I'm just creating this with simple black cardstock. And I'm going to do this with all of the letters, making sure they line up here. Just create your own chipboard letters. Now here I have all the letters to spell out beautiful, and I'm putting them into my splat box and spraying a layer of resist spray on them. Now I'm taking the Carabelle, Butterfly, and Dragonfly stamp with a little bit of archival ink, and I'm just inking where the text is and stamping that sporadically over my page. This is simply to add some texture and interest to the background layer. So using one of the size 8 tags from the Mixed Media Inspired October kit, I'm putting down a layer of distress ink in frayed burlap onto my craft sheet and some water, and I'm smushing my tag down into this. And then I will use my craft tool to dry the first layer and repeat these same steps to build up layers of color and movement within the ink. Because this is a water reactive ink, you will continue to get different splatters and movement as you go through. So you can see here I've done this a few times. Now I'm taking the same little ink pad and I'm rubbing it along the edge of the tag to define the edge and just darken it a little bit. And then I'm also taking the Caramel butterfly stamp and inking up the text area with the frayed burlap ink and stamping it sporadically on this tag. This is just to add some interest to the tag and also to continue this pattern from the background. So I like to use the same things throughout the entire page so that there's some continuity and continuation of themes throughout your page. So this by War Bonds paper was actually the back of one of the music sheets that came in the kit. And when I looked at the back, I thought, this is really cool. Let's use the background as one of our collage elements. So actually, I'm using the opposite side, which is really cool. You get two uses from one sheet of paper. So now I'm going to begin assembling my page. So the first thing I'm going to do is put down that tag we created earlier with a layer of collage medium. And then here's just another little piece of music sheet paper, but first, you can see the music notes. I'm putting some collage medium on that as well, and I'm going to place it overlapping the tag to the left. And that little piece of paper that's in my hand is actually also another scrap from the back of a music paper in the kit. So never throw anything away. You can always use little scraps later on. And I'm sealing all this down with the collage medium before I place down this girl that came from the Tim Holtz Ideology Paper Dolls set. And I'm using the brush for this. You also could just use your finger in the glue and rub it on there, but I'm placing this girl down now. And making sure that she's completely pushed down in the paper. Now these little scraps you see me gluing down are actually what was left over from when I trimmed away the extra sheet music to fit the Dilutions journal. So I'm just saving them and using them as a collage element as well. Again, don't waste anything, just use it in your journals. And these strips of paper are what the letters for Beautiful are going to be layered onto. So the first thing I like to do is lay out all of my letters to make sure that I like the spacing before I begin gluing them down. So you can see here I've laid them out. I've played around with positioning before I begin gluing them down individually using the collage medium. And now all the letters are glued down. And place the last letter there in the L. Now I'm going to glue down all of those leaves that we created earlier, and you can really see where the resist spray is now versus the oxide spray. And there's no rhyme or reason to where I'm placing these. I'm just filling in areas that I think are a little bit blank. Being careful to not cover up too much of the resist leaves in the background, so I'm sort of just placing them in areas where I think, for example, there's nothing really there, so I'm placing that big leaf. Now I'm going to place this one so that it overlaps some of the tag, so it doesn't just look like that tag's randomly floating in this page. So I'm incorporating it more and anchoring into the page by placing that leaf there. And the last leaf in the upper left corner, I'll be honest, I didn't really like how the background stamp there, it was so bold with the dark brown, so I'm covering up some of it to take away because my eye kept looking at it and I didn't really like it. So covering it up. When in doubt and you don't like something, cover it up with another element. So that's what I'm doing. Simply covering it with that leaf and you'll never know it was there. So using a little bit of the Dini Wakley Media Heavy Body Paint in Umber, I'm adding some water to it and mixing it with my palette knife. And what this does is it turns that heavy body paint into more of a fluid acrylic, and you can use it to splatter and do really cool effects that you could only do with a fluid paint. And what's really interesting about the Dini Wakley Media product line is that when you add water to her heavy body paint, it doesn't break down the pigment of the paint. So it's like getting two products for the price of one. So I really, really love the Dini Wakley Media line of paint, and I use it. That's pretty much my main paint, to be honest. Now I'm using one of the stickers from the Tim Holtz Ideology Snarky Small Talk, and this one says, "It's a beautiful day to leave me alone." So using a little bit of the frayed burlap distress ink on a blending tool, I'm just adding some color to that sticker so it doesn't stand out as stark white, and then I'm trimming away parts of it so that it fits into my page a little bit more. So I'm trimming out the word beautiful, so that beautiful is made out of my black letters there that I die cut earlier. And then I'm going to put "it's a" on top, and then the word beautiful, as you can see, and then "a day to leave me alone" on the bottom. And I'm just trimming away the extra parts of the sticker that I don't feel are needed, making it a little bit thinner, and trimming the ends as well. And then I decided that the bottom part needed to be trimmed away a little more, so I just carefully peeled it up, and now I'm trimming away some extra parts along the bottom. So never worry or feel like you can't customize stickers or anything to work better with your page. That's the cool part of art, is that you can make it do what you want to do. You're in charge. So now I'm using two different colors of distress crayons. Here you can see is Picket Fence, and then I also have Walnut Stain. And I'm just going around my letters and my elements, and adding some shadow, rubbing it on the page, and then smudging it out with my finger. And my main reason for doing this is that I'm just, once again, trying to incorporate my elements so they look like they're all part of one page instead of random pieces that I glued together. And I really like to use distress crayons for this, as the smudging effect works really well. And the last thing I'm going to do is, using a Stabilo All pencil in red, I'm going to outline my word stickers and then use a wet brush to activate that pencil and smudge it out a little bit. And with that, my page is done. I really love how all the different techniques and elements came together to make a really unique page. Not only did I take inspiration from looking at some of the things I had, like Lullaby of the Leaves, but I especially love the way this sassy saying came together as a final finishing element. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more about our mixed media inspired box, be sure to check the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our future videos.